You wake before sunrise, long before the rest of the town begins to stir. The air inside your small stone house is cold, carrying the faint scent of damp wood, old leather, and iron. Outside, the medieval streets lie still and dark, covered in mud and the remnants of yesterday's market. In the distance, church bells echo softly through the thick morning fog. You are not a knight, you are not a lord. You are not even a common craftsman. You are the executioner, one of the most feared men in all of medieval Europe. Most people refuse to meet your gaze when you pass. Mothers gently pull their children aside. Merchants hesitate before handing you bread or meat. Priests speak of sin from the pulpit, yet quietly rely on your work. Because no matter how much society turns its face away in disgust, it cannot function without you. Justice in the medieval world is not hidden. It is loud, it is public, it is meant to be seen, and you are the hand that delivers it. You live on the edge of society, sometimes even outside the town walls. Your profession is often passed down from father to son. No guild will accept you. No respectable family wants their daughter to marry you. In some towns, you are forbidden from entering taverns or touching goods at the market. And yet, in secret, people still come to you. They seek your help for wounds and broken bones, because no one understands the human body quite like the man who must break it. You know where arteries run, how joints bend, and the exact places where life can be taken, or sometimes mercifully eased. Some even whisper requests for strange remedies made from the bodies of the condemned, for medieval superstition runs deep. But today is execution day. By noon, the town square will be filled with life and noise. Vendors will sell bread and ale while children climb onto barrels for a better view. Public executions are never quiet moments of solemn justice. They are events. They are spectacles, a strange blend of entertainment and terror. You prepare your tools with care and reverence: rope, axe, blade. Each one must be perfect, because a failed execution is a horror for everyone, the prisoner, the crowd, and especially for you. A dull blade that needs many strikes, a noose that slowly strangles instead of snapping. These things stain the soul and ruin a reputation. You wash your hands in cold water and run your fingers along the heavy executioner's sword leaning against the wall. This blade has no sharp point. It was forged for one purpose only. Outside, the first light of dawn begins to kiss the rooftops, and somewhere in the dark prison cells, today's condemned soul sits in silence, listening to those same church bells, knowing that time is running out. By mid-morning, the town square is almost unrecognizable. What was once a muddy open market has become a stage for death. Farmers, merchants, beggars, priests, and nobles press together beneath the grey medieval sky, waiting with restless energy. The air is thick with the overwhelming smell of sweat, wood smoke, wet straw, animal dung, and roasting meat from the nearby food stalls. Public executions in medieval Europe were never quiet legal procedures. They were grand spectacles. Some people came out of dark curiosity. Others came out of fear, to see what fate awaited thieves, murderers, traitors, or heretics. Guards push through the restless crowd as the condemned prisoner is dragged forward from the town jail. His wrists are bound tightly, his face pale and hollow from weeks spent in a freezing stone cell. Some prisoners confess loudly, begging God for mercy. Others scream curses at the crowd or the judges who sentence them. A few collapse in terror before they even reach the scaffold. You stand waiting beside the wooden platform, dressed in dark, stained clothing from years of this work. Contrary to the legends, most executioners did not wear black hoods. The crowd already knew exactly who you were. Your face was infamous. As the priest recites final prayers over the condemned man, every eye slowly turns toward you. This is the moment they truly came to witness. Different crimes demanded different punishments. A noble might receive a swift beheading, considered an honorable death. Common criminals were often hanged, left twisting at the end of a rope while the crowd watched in silence. Traitors suffered far worse, burning at the stake, breaking on the wheel, or brutal dismemberment. Medieval justice was designed not only to punish, but to terrify. Fear was the glue that held order in a world where kings had limited power and rebellion always lurked in the shadows. You step forward and position the prisoner. If you are skilled, the end comes quickly. A clean strike brings less suffering and less rage from the crowd. But mistakes haunted executioners for the rest of their lives. There are terrible stories of inexperienced men needing 5 or 6 blows to sever a head, while horrified crowds shouted insults and the prisoner screamed in agony. Some executioners were attacked afterward. Many drank heavily just to carry the heavy weight of their days. Because no matter how cold you appeared on the outside, you were still human. You heard every cry. You smelled the blood soaking into the wet wood. You saw the light leave their eyes. And after years of this work, many executioners became emotionally numb, strangers even to ordinary life. Finally, the signal is given. The entire square falls into a heavy silence. Even the birds seem to vanish from the sky. Your hands tighten around the sword handle. The condemned man lowers his head onto the block, and the energy lows to one single breath. The blade falls in a single violent motion. Steel sings through the cold air, followed by a heavy, final thud against wood. And then the crowd erupts. Some cheer wildly. Others cross themselves in prayer. A few turn away in sudden horror, reminded that death waits for everyone. Blood flows across the scaffold and drips into the muddy streets below, while guards fight to hold back the surging crowd. In medieval Europe, executions were never just punishment. They were powerful messages. The body was often left on display for hours, sometimes days, as a warning. Heads were placed on spikes above the city gates so travelers could see them from afar. Justice here was brutal, public, and impossible to forget. But once the excitement fades and the crowd slowly disperses, you remain behind to clean the aftermath. This is the part no one celebrates. You wipe the blood from your sword, remove the body, and wash the execution block while ravens circle overhead, waiting for their share. The same townspeople who screamed for punishment now avoid you. Children whisper as you pass. Priests speak of mercy but refuse to share a meal with you. In many places, executioners were denied a normal life entirely. They struggled to marry outside their own families. Some were forbidden from joining guilds or owning property in the better parts of town. Even touching an executioner was seen as bad luck. You existed in a strange, lonely place, necessary yet hated, feared yet completely isolated. Over time, this loneliness changed a person. Some became cold and detached. Others turned deeply religious, hoping God alone understood their heavy burden. A few eventually walked away from the profession, unable to bear the nightmares that followed them for years. Because despite what medieval justice claimed, death was never clean. Sometimes prisoners cried out for their mothers in their final moments. Sometimes innocent souls were condemned by false witnesses, corrupt judges, or waves of fear during witch hunts and plague years. And through it all, the executioner stood at the center, carrying out the sentence no matter who knelt before the block. As evening approaches, the square finally empties. Soft rain begins to fall, washing thin streams of blood into the dirt. Church bells ring once more across the town as merchants close their stalls and smoke curls from distant chimneys. You walk home alone through the narrow medieval streets, doors quietly shut as you pass. Tomorrow, life will continue as if nothing happened. Blacksmiths will hammer iron, bakers will knead dough before sunrise, children will laugh and play in the muddy alleys. But in the darkness of your small stone house, the executioner sharpens his sword once again, waiting for the next sentence to be carried out.